The first time I saw the eviction notice on my office door, it felt like a physical blow. The fluorescent light of the hallway hummed, mocking the silence where my name used to be. 10 years. 10 years of grinding, of late nights fueled by cheap coffee and shared dreams. We built this company, him and I, from a cramped garage with a single flickering light bulb. I remember the smell of sawdust and solder, the thrill of our first successful prototype, the handshake that sealed our first deal. We were more than partners. We were architects of a future we designed together. He was the charismatic face, the silver-tongued salesman. I was the engine, the one who made the impossible possible, buried in code and schematics until dawn. Our names were etched into the very foundation of the company, or so I thought. It started subtly, a meeting I wasn't invited to, a key decision made while I was on a rare vacation. He'd laugh it off, just trying to lighten your load, buddy. You work too hard. His reassurances were like Novocaine, numbing the sharp prick of suspicion. Then the whispers began. New hires, his hires, would look at me with a mixture of pity and confusion. My projects were mysteriously definite. My access to critical servers was accidentally revoked. I was being ghosted within my own company, a phantom haunting the halls I helped build. The man I'd trusted, the one I'd celebrated every milestone with, was meticulously erasing me. The final betrayal came not with a bang, but with a sterile corporate email. A board meeting I hadn't known about had voted. My shares, diluted through a series of complex maneuvers I was too busy innovating to notice, were now insignificant. I was out. Just like that, the brother in arms. I thought I had stood on a stage at a company-wide town hall. My stage, and announced a bold new direction. He never mentioned my name. It was as if I had never existed. That night, my apartment felt like a tomb. The city lights outside blurred through my tears. I was a hollowed-out shell. I screamed until my throat was raw, a primal roar of grief and rage that the city swallowed whole. I replayed every handshake, every promise, every shared laugh. Was it all a lie? A long con? The pain was a physical weight, pressing down on my chest, threatening to suffocate me. For weeks I drifted, a ghost in my own life. The company we built, my life's work, was thriving, and its success felt like salt in an open wound. The world saw him as a visionary genius. I knew the truth. I was the ghost in his machine, the architect of the very success he now claimed as his own. Then, one rainy Tuesday, something shifted. The grief, the despair. It didn't disappear. It crystallized. It hardened into something cold, sharp, and focused. The tears stopped. The shaking hands became steady. I looked at my reflection. A gaunt stranger staring back, and I saw a flicker of the old fire. He had underestimated me. He saw me as a creator, a dreamer, not a fighter. He had forgotten that the same mind that could build a complex system from scratch could also learn to dismantle one. The emotional storm had passed. In its place was a chilling, quiet calm. Revenge wasn't going to be a messy, emotional outburst. It would be a strategy, a campaign. It would be an elegant, systematic dismantling of his stolen empire. My grief had become my fuel. My heartbreak had become my armor. The game was on. I began by becoming a student of my own creation. He had the company, but I had its blueprints in my head. I knew every strength, and more importantly, every vulnerability. I started with the code. He'd never bothered to understand the intricate back-end systems I'd built. I found the digital breadcrumbs, the logs he thought were deleted, detailing his fraudulent share dilution schemes. But I spent my days in law libraries, my nights on encrypted forums, learning the language of corporate warfare. I hired a pit bull of a lawyer, a woman who smiled like a shark and saw the beautiful, brutal poetry in my evidence. While the legal gears began to grind silently in the background, I moved on to phase 2, public perception. He had built his brand on a lie, a carefully constructed image of a self-made tech messiah. It was time to introduce the world to the man behind the curtain. I didn't need to sling mud, I just needed to shine a light. I connected with a respected investigative journalist, one known for her relentless pursuit of the truth. I didn't give her a story of a jilted partner. I gave her a verifiable trove of evidence. Emails, server logs, internal documents I had backed up years ago out of habit. I handed her the keys to his kingdom of lies. The article dropped on a Monday morning. It was a digital atom bomb. The architect in the shadows, the untold story of a tech empire's true founder. My name, once erased, was now in every headline. The story wasn't just about my ousting, it was about his systematic deceit, backed by undeniable proof. The tech community, which had lionized him, turned on him overnight. His carefully crafted persona shattered, partners pulled out. Investors launched internal investigations. The stock, his symbol of stolen glory, began to plummet. He tried to fight back, calling me a disgruntled employee, a liar, but the evidence was too clean, too damning. Every denial he issued was met with another leaked document, another corroborating source. I was dismantling his reputation with the same precision I once used to build our first server. The final act took place in the same sterile boardroom where I was condemned. The emergency shareholders meeting was a grim affair. On one side sat a pale, shaken man who looked years older. On the other, me, flanked by my legal team, holding a controlling interest in the company. The legal battle had been swift and brutal. My evidence was irrefutable. The courts had unwound his fraudulent maneuvers, restoring my rightful ownership. The same board that had cast me out now looked at me with a mixture of fear and respect. I didn't shout. I didn't gloat. I simply laid out the new direction, a direction based on integrity, on innovation, on truth. I was voted in as the new CEO, unanimously. As I walked back into my old office, it was different. The eviction notice was gone. My name was on the door, newly engraved. Through the large glass window, I saw him being escorted out of the building by security, carrying a single, sad-looking cardboard box. He didn't look up. He had lost everything. The company, the reputation, the fortune he had stolen. I didn't feel joy, not in the way you might think. I felt quiet. I felt a sense of order restored. The harsh truth had finally come to light. He hadn't just lost a company, he had been erased, just as he had tried to erase me. The difference is, I never existed in his story, but he will forever be a footnote in mine. A cautionary tale. I sat down in my chair, the leather cool and familiar. The city lights glittered outside, no longer mocking me, but welcoming me home. The real work was about to begin.